Hello there, it's time for Africa News, the headlines at this hour. In South Africa, Olympian Oscar Pistorius has pleaded not guilty to murder at the opening of his trial. Prosecutors allege he shot dead his girlfriend while in a rage on February the 14th, 2013. In Nigeria's Borno state, at least 150 people have been killed in attacks by Islamists and government forces since Friday. 7 people also died in an assault in Cameroon. And you're the pride of Africa, the accolade bestowed on actress Lupita Nyong'o by Kenya's president after she won the country's first major Oscar. Hello there and welcome. We open this edition in South Africa, where the neighbour of Paralympian Oscar Pistorius has told the court she awoke to a woman's terrible screams in the early hours of February the 14th, 2013. At the opening of his trial in Pretoria today, the double amputee pleaded not guilty to the murder of his girlfriend Rena Steenkamp on the night in question. Prosecutors claim he shot her 4 times through a bathroom door while in a rage, but the 27-year-old says her death was accidental when he mistook her for a burglar.
Wearing a dark suit and a blank expression on his face, Oscar Pistorius was up against cameras from all over the world. The former Paralympic champion is facing an unusual situation, charged with the murder of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. For 3 weeks, some 100 witnesses are testifying along with a mountain of experts. Judge Thokozile Matilda Masipa is known for being very tough on violence against women.
On a public road.
Do you understand count 4?
I do, my lady.
Do you understand the charge?
I do, my lady.
How do you plead?
Not guilty, my lady.
Thank you.
What really happened on the night of February 13th, 2013? Was it murder or a tragic accident, as Oscar Pistorius insists? He admits having fired 4 shots at his girlfriend through the bathroom door because he had taken her for a thief. But the family of Reva Steenkamp does not believe this explanation, nor does the prosecutor's office. Because behind the icon, the investigation uncovered a weapons fanatic, sometimes violent. In their couple, there were violent arguments. So did he shoot with the intention to kill? The first witness in the trial, a neighbor, said she had heard screams from a young woman that night, enough to give someone chills, but no eyewitness. Ballistic, medical, and scientific witnesses will play a central role to determine if there was premeditation or not. Oscar Pistorius could be looking at 25 years in prison.
Thousands of people continue to flee the conflict in South Sudan, which is entering a 12th week. The UN estimates close to 900,000 people have been displaced. That's over 10% of the population. Despite a ceasefire signed in late January, rebels retook the town of Malakal, capital of the oil-rich Upper Nile state, from government loyalists late last month. Our reporter Duncan Woodside has just returned from Malakal, which has been almost completely destroyed by recent fighting.
Malakal is a town which has now been completely destroyed by the various bouts of fighting which have taken place over the last 11 weeks. The town has changed hands several times since the beginning of the conflict, with the rebels retaking it late last month. And within that context, there's been extensive looting, and effectively the town has been burned to the ground. Now, while we were there were very few civilians around, just very small pockets of civilians which were sheltering in churches and other compounds, and they were being extracted by UN peacekeepers while we were there. And those people who were being rescued, mainly they were disabled people or else elderly people who could not flee when the rebels came into town. And they were telling some awful stories about women being abducted as sex slaves and other people being shot. So basically we have a situation now where there is no civilian presence left in Malakal. There's just rebel soldiers, and the civilians have either scattered into the bush or else they're at the UN camp by the airport.
And Duncan, this conflict has been in full swing since last December. Is there any sign at all of it ending?
Well, very few signs of any end to this conflict at the moment. Obviously, there are delegations from the rebel side and also the government side which have been in Addis Ababa, where negotiations are being brokered, but those negotiations have effectively gone nowhere. We did have a ceasefire, of course, signed in late January, but that's been repeatedly broken with, of course, the rebels taking Malakal late last month. And now the rebels are saying, they told us while we were there, that they intend to secure Malakal as their headquarters and also push on to the oil fields in the north of Upper Nile state, which are currently held by government forces.
Duncan Woodside reporting there. Now, in northern Nigeria's Borno state, reports say at least 150 people have been killed in attacks by Islamists and government forces since Friday. As the Nigerian Islamist group Boko Haram steps up its terror campaign, 7 people were also killed on Sunday during an assault in northern Cameroon. Earlier, our Africa specialist Nicolas Germain told us more about those attacks.
It's not the first time. What you have to know is that in May 2013, the Nigerian army stepped up the pressure against Boko Haram, and since then the group has been seen more and more in Cameroon. There was an attack in January which left 1 person dead. This attack on Sunday, this incursion, we're told by a local source, left 6 jihadists dead and 1 Cameroon soldier. And we also know that Boko Haram has in the past kidnapped some French citizens in northern Cameroon who were later released. But all these incidents show that Cameroon is vulnerable and the government is on the defensive. I spoke to the information minister this evening and he still doesn't want to officially confirm the incursion on Sunday.
Now, Cameroon and Nigeria share a border, as we know. What are relations like between the two countries?
Well, they've been historically tense. The two countries have fought over the peninsula of Bakassi. Today, Nigeria is saying that Cameroon is control of the border is still too weak. Nigeria has also closed part of its border 10 days ago. And last week, you had this summit on the security in the region. We were there, and everyone noticed the absence of the Cameroonian President Paul Biya. And everyone is saying if you want to be efficient in the struggle against Boko Haram, you have to have a better cooperation between Paul Biya of Cameroon and Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria. Boko Haram, of course, which has killed thousands of people since 2009, nearly 200 this week, and 43 in a dormitory last Monday in Yobe.
Mauritanian hospital sources say at least 1 student died during protests in the capital Nouakchott this morning as hundreds demonstrated against an alleged desecration of the Quran. The man reportedly died as police struggled to contain demonstrators calling for the arrest of a group they say took copies of the text from a mosque. In Ivory Coast, thousands poured onto the streets of the capital on Sunday to welcome home President Alassane Ouattara after a month's stay in France, where he was operated on for sciatica. Now, the Ivorian president arrived in France on February the 2nd and was treated at the American hospital near Paris. Scarce information surrounding his absence sparked rumours his condition was grave, but addressing the crowds, the 72-year-old said he was perfectly healthy.
I'm very happy to be back in Abidjan. Mr. Prime Minister and members of the government, as you can see that I'm in good shape, we are going to speed things up.
President Abdelaziz Bouteflika was seen registering his candidacy for re-election in April's ballot on Algerian state television today. It's one of the few times the 76-year-old appeared speaking in public since suffering a stroke last year. Seen smiling, he told journalists he was simply there to register according to electoral law. Next, you're the Pride of Africa, the accolade bestowed on actress Lupita Nyong'o by Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta after she won the country's first major Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in Steve McQueen's blockbuster 12 Years a Slave. Nyong'o was born in Mexico but was mostly raised in Kenya by Kenyan parents. She starred in several productions in her home country before landing her breakthrough role. McQueen also became the first black director to receive an Oscar for Best Film.
Thank you to the Academy for this incredible recognition. It doesn't escape me for one moment that so much joy in my life is thanks to so much pain in someone else's. Steve McQueen, you charge everything you fashion with the breath of your own spirit. Thank you so much for putting me in this position. It has been the joy of my life.
Well, congratulations to Lupita. Your Africa team is back tomorrow with more news. Join us then.